The other day, I spoke to you about a Trump supporter whose wife was detained by ICE and then brought to a facility in Louisiana. And I have a crazy update about that story because that man took the side of Donald Trump, did not take the side of his wife, and is instead saying that he does not regret his vote for Donald Trump. Bradley Bartel's wife, Camila Munoz, is a Peruvian citizen who overstayed her initial visa but was working toward obtaining permanent residency in the United States. Despite the couple's ordeal, Bartel still supports Trump, who has vowed to conduct the largest mass deportation operation in U.S. history, saying, quote, "I don't regret the vote," Bartel told Newsweek in an exclusive statement. Speaking with Newsweek, Bartel described the emotional toll of watching his wife being detained, saying, quote, "It's all been a nightmare, really, taking things as they come and moving forward." He said, quote, "We have an attorney. The system for getting people through seems to be very inefficient, so it is taking longer than it should." So he's acknowledging how difficult this has been for him and his family. Obviously, this is a very sad story, regardless of his political leanings and who he voted for. I don't believe this should be happening to anybody. But he's still saying, actually, I think Trump is still pretty great. Still, Bartel stood by his vote for Trump. Since sharing his story, he has faced intense public scrutiny, saying, "I've received a lot of hateful messages, plenty of people saying we deserve this, and a lot of other insults," he said, acknowledging the backlash. He did criticize ICE, though, saying ICE never really has any information, it seems. The system needs to be revamped for better processes and communication between departments. He said the situation had forced him to consider drastic options in the event that his wife is deported, saying, "It has crossed my mind to move to Peru if she gets deported, but it would be very difficult for my son." Regarding Trump, he said, quote, "He didn't create the system. He's defending what Donald Trump is doing here with this mass deportation campaign, but he does have an opportunity to improve it. Hopefully, all this attention will bring light to how broken it is." Other Trump supporters have also been affected by this, which we'll talk about in just a second. I have a clip to show you of that taking place as well. But this is insane. I mean, it's just insane, right? We saw Donald Trump as president the first time. He made no effort to improve ICE or the immigration system. Matter of fact, he did everything to make it worse. And then suddenly, this individual's like, yeah, I think he's actually going to improve ICE this time. I think he's going to make the immigration system better. And this comes after his own wife was arrested by ICE. I mean, what fantasy land are folks like this living in, where they think that the guy who's making their lives worse is suddenly going to change his mind and make their lives better? It's just utter delusion. And as I mentioned, there are other Trump supporters facing a similar story. This is another article from Newsweek. Trump supporter wrongly detained by ICE now questions his vote. So this person actually is saying, yeah, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump. A United States citizen detained by ICE officers in Northern Virginia says he's now questioning his vote for Donald Trump. Genzi Machado, a naturalized citizen, said he was in a car stopped by agents while on his way to work in Manassas in the D.C. suburbs, where a large-scale immigration enforcement operation took place early in the week. He said, quote, "They just got out of the car with guns in their hands and say, 'Turn off the car, give me the keys, open the window.' Everything was really fast," he told Newsweek. Machado said he voted for Trump in November, told NBC he was on his way to work with two other men when ICE agents stopped them Wednesday morning. He said the agents were looking for a man with a final order of removal who had given his home address. The U.S. citizen said he knew no one with that name and offered to show the agents his ID as they'd not asked to see any. So he was willing to comply with these agents and say, yeah, I'll do whatever you need to prove who I am. They still went after him anyway. I was telling the officer if I can give him ID, but he says just keep my hands up, not moving. After that, he told me to get out of the car and put handcuffs on me. And then he went and said, how did I get into this country? And if I was waiting for a court date, if I have any other case. I told him I was an American citizen, and he looked at his other partner like smiling, like, can you believe this guy? Because he asked the guy, do you believe him? Well, ICE agents did eventually release him. The two other in the vehicle were taken away. And it has affected his belief in Donald Trump. He said, quote, "I voted for Trump last election, but because I thought it was going to be the things, like just go against criminals, not every Hispanic looking like they will assume that we are all illegals." That's something that I would say this person should have looked into beforehand, simply because Donald Trump was making it very clear that it's not just undocumented migrants he's going after. He's not just going after people who have committed crimes. If you are a permanent resident in the United States, as we just saw in the story before this, if you're working toward becoming legal, if you have a green card, if you are even an American citizen, there's no stopping them from just arresting you and holding you for a period of time. I mean, we see this happening all the time. We see it happening across the United States, certainly so. And I have another story I want to show you on this very topic, a video actually of a Trump voter, again, having his wife detained by ICE. He is now begging for Donald Trump to release her. It's just, again, a really sad story. This is not celebrating this. This is just bringing light to the fact that this is what's happening across the country. Take a look.
They turned off the cameras, excuse my language, and then they took my wife.
This man, who wished not to be identified, says his wife is from Venezuela and has lived in the United States for a few years. She was one of 3 people taken from this home. I'm told the 2 others were men who worked in construction. You see them here. This video, only 1 minute and 52 seconds long, we do not see his wife being removed from the home. But this is a picture of her that he keeps in his wallet. Her name is Vianis Ramirez, and he says she was in the process of becoming a United States citizen.
She already had a court date. She was good. Everything was good. He just came in and snatched her.
These are pictures from the Department of Homeland Security detaining other undocumented men and women in Broward County.
It's despicable what they're doing right now. It's very embarrassing.
President Donald Trump arrived at his Trump National Golf Resort in Doral Saturday, set to host GOP leaders for a conference. This man hopes this message makes it to him.
If I get a chance to talk to you, man, yo, please, man, let's work something out. So you, man, let me keep my wife here in the United States, man. She deserves to be here, man.
ICE reports nearly 1,000 raids in the country on Sunday alone, which is up from just under 300 on Saturday. Here at the detention center in Miramar, things have been quiet for several hours, but we will continue to monitor this situation and bring you the developing news on raids in South Florida as they happen.
Again, a Republican in Florida who voted for Donald Trump. His wife had a court date to address her staying in the country. She went through all the legal processes necessary in order to become a resident here in the United States. Donald Trump said, don't care. Don't care. Donald Trump will put you in this position even if you voted for him, donated to him, loved him, worshiped him. He will come after you and your family, just like he's doing with all of these folks who, again, are making strides to becoming legal in the United States, trying to follow the law, have not committed any crimes, don't have a long citation list of things that they've done. Instead, they're just trying to become U.S. citizens, trying to stay here legally. And Trump is saying, nuh-uh, you're gone. You're gone. And so in many cases, Trump voters are saying, yeah, obviously this is terrible. Now we regret our votes, but obviously in the first story, not so much. And the final thing I kind of want to talk about with you is other types of Trump supporters who are regretting their votes for Donald Trump. This time, the federal workforce. A lot of federal workers, as you know, have been cut out, just fired outright because Donald Trump decides that they're waste and that they're actually not doing anything or getting anything done in the federal government. And this is hitting people from all sides of the aisle, Democrats, Republicans, independents who work in the federal government. David Pasquino voted for Donald Trump, then the new administration fired him. This is according to Business Insider. The former Veterans Affairs employee told Business Insider that while he still supports aspects of the Trump administration, which is crazy, he finds many of the president's actions problematic. In particular, he supports the president's approach to the border and his plans to increase the size of the military. He's not a fan of Elon Musk. Elon Musk-led firing of thousands of federal workers. Quote, they are literally taking a chainsaw to the government when they should be using a scalpel. This is not what I imagined when Donald Trump said he was going to change the government and make the government more efficient. And Business Insider spoke to 10 current and former federal workers offering some anonymity to speak freely without retribution. Many of them are still criticizing Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who's obviously a part of this. Here's another one. Marcia, 67, is another person BI spoke to, saying, is another Trump voter who was fired from her federal job, and she said she feels extremely let down. Quote, he was going to make prices lower, he was going to make gas cheaper, he was going to help the middle-class people in America. Marcia, who is seeking to reinstate her position, said. The National Weather Service employee said that they voted for Trump because they wanted the country to return to things how they were in 2019. Instead, they said, quote, this is just the most toxic environment I've ever seen. The employee described feeling hoodwinked by Donald Trump. During the campaign, the person said they trusted Trump when he said he had nothing to do with Project 2025, which of course we now know to be complete fabrication. Among other things, Project 2025 described what Donald Trump is doing right now. But it's crazy. It's just crazy how many of these Trump voters we're seeing come out saying, you know what, I made a mistake. I was wrong. And what Donald Trump is doing to me and my family hurts. And a lot of these Trump voters couldn't see this until it actually happened to them, right? They needed their wives, their loved ones to be targeted by the Trump administration to understand that this is happening. It's not just Democrats freaking out and screaming. This is happening. It's happening to real people around the country. And I think you're starting to see this again across the board with people saying, you know what? Donald Trump is not who we want in the presidency. He's not fulfilling our desires or what we voted for him based off of. This is another Newsweek article that Donald Trump's approval rating right now is actually dropping faster with men than with women, which is interesting. The latest Atlas Intel poll conducted from March 7th to the 12th found that 48% of men approved of Donald Trump, while 51% disapproved. So Donald Trump is now below water with men. This reflects a sharp drop from their previous poll conducted in February, which showed that 54% of men approved of Donald Trump and 46% disapproved. You can see that the women disapproval rating is staying pretty consistent, whereas men is just, it is falling for Donald Trump, a key demographic that helped him win the White House. So I think you're just starting to see across the board people saying what Trump is doing, what Elon Musk is doing, what the administration is doing as a whole on a variety of different issues is just not working. We're not fans of it. It's hurting people. And I think all the stories we talked about today really highlight that. So listen, I just wanted to show you these stories and talk about it a little bit. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. It really helps, goes an incredibly long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all this stuff and these stories that we discussed. And of course, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and we shall talk soon.